I think she waved her hand a moment ago. Jessica Norling is our landscape architect. Jessica, you want to wave your hand? And Kate Godey is our structural engineer on the project.
Thank you.
So our family of companies all share the same ownership as Builder Studio. So I want to just kind of let you know how that works. Our parent company is the Bill Group. Bill Group Properties is the owner of this property that we are renovating. Thrive Construction Group is the general contractor for the proposed project. And Farm to Coast Collective is the future master tenant of the property and is also part of this group. So the other person I haven't introduced is Becca Lipsky. She is the Director of Operations for the Bill Group. She's available here today to answer questions related to the business operations for the companies as well as for this project. So in addition to, in addition to our in-house team, we also engaged consultants early on. I know you saw them on the front sheet of the drawings, but we've been working with mechanical and plumbing engineers, electrical engineers, a kitchen and appliance consultant, energy consultants, elevators consultants, and we've engaged some business consultants. So that's just a little bit about us, and what I want to do is address a few things with the project and the report. We agree with much of the city staff's analysis, and we actually look forward to your comments and your input. But one of the things I wanted to say was I did send you some those extra documents today that were the 3D modeling and the elevation of the proposed elevations that had some color on it. I want the 3D modeling is, the intent is really to help you understand from the street level what you can see. I think we purposely made the angle from the street level so you can look up, and as Alan mentioned, you'll have a chance to kind of see how much of the trellis can be seen from the street. If there are some inconsistencies between those 3D drawings and the drawings that were submitted for design review, please look at the drawings that were submitted previously. They are the accurate drawings, just in case you see something. And the other drawing, that's the proposed elevation, is just to give you a sense of the actual materials and how they changed, because everything was not showing up in the 3D perspective. Regarding the height and the design of the rooftop trellis, we feel like this trellis structure is important and a necessary feature to this project function, and it has been designed with intention. We feel like we've been organic and organized about it. We want it to be approachable, and we want it to be available to all. Regarding the welded wire screens at the tower, these elements have always been intended to be art. So what we want to do is we want to work with an artist to meet the public art ordinance, and then we will submit shop drawings along with any other plans and information that we need to get approval for this art installation. We have no issues with the exterior lighting at the maximum of 2,700 K. And there's a few other things we just wanted to comment on. The mural that's in the alley on South Main Street. We all love that mural, and our intention is to preserve it. And you mentioned the boundary survey. Alan and I have been talking. We did go out and pursue the boundary survey once it was mentioned, and it has been completed, and right now it does confirm that the existing and the proposed is within the boundaries and the setbacks, and we'll submit that as we need to. And I just wanted to confirm that our deferred submittals do include the signage and the lighting as we mentioned on the title sheet of the drawings, and the art installation as we've talked about here today. So that's all from me right now, but I do want to introduce Becca. She is going to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you all for being here today. As Grace said, my name is Rebecca Lipsky. I'm the Director of Operations for the Beal Group. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about who we are and why we're really excited about this project. I'm just going to take almost 2 minutes of your time here. The Beal Group and its subsidiaries, Builder Studio, Thrive Construction, Beal Group Properties, and Farm to Coast Collective, we're all built around a common set of values: community, support, and collaboration. First and foremost, we love our community. Sebastopol is where we've chosen to live, where our kids go to school, and where our family of businesses is located. We feel very fortunate to live here, and we're grateful to have this opportunity to revitalize 6950 Burnett Street. This is a prominent yet underutilized building in the downtown core, and we're really excited to reimagine it into a vibrant local hub for our community to enjoy. Our businesses were built on the concept that multiple small businesses sharing back office services would create efficiencies and bring overhead expenses down for each business. This has proven to be a successful model for all of us, and we are building upon this concept with Farm to Coast Collective, the future tenant of the project. The ultimate goal is to support small business owners by providing shared space and services, contributing to the sustainability and resilience of our local economy. We look forward to getting your feedback and your thoughts about our project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any additional comments from our applicant?
No, not at this time. I think we're just here to answer any questions you might have of us.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you for the presentation. Let's see, do we have any comments from the public? We received any public comment? Anybody have anything to say? No public comment, Carrie or Alan?
We have not received any public comments for this item, unless Alan has any.
I have not received a single comment for this one, and it's been noticed for close to 2 months now.
Okay. Sounds good. Then why don't we bring it back to the board and discuss it amongst ourselves and see what the comments of the board are. Let's see. Ron, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I could. I was wondering about the artwork on the tower. Now, is that something we're going to discuss today, or is that coming up later as some kind of art project?
You know, actually, why don't we, before we pull it back to the board, why don't we, that's more of a question to the applicant. So why don't we ask the applicant that?
Okay.
I know it came through in the report from Alan that it was a discussion item for you. And I think what we are recommending is that is where we intended it to be art, and we'd like to coordinate with an artist and make that our art installation per the ordinance. So I think what we need to do is let us work with the artist and bring that back to you and the Art Council.
Right.
And I'll just clarify, public art, when there's a requirement for public art that's proposed to meet the, instead of the in lieu fee to be art in place, it needs to be approved by the Public Art Committee. And of course, Vice Chair Lars Langberg is the DRB's liaison to that committee. I don't believe those have come to the DRB in the past. They simply, but if you have comments, obviously at this time, Lars can bring those through to the Public Art Committee.
Got it. Yeah, art has generally not come to the DRB. Ron, any other questions of our applicant?
Not at this time. No, I guess it'd be nice to see maybe a little bit more of the color, of the dark color in the elevations that I received. They almost look black, but I guess it's not. Kind of a gray black, maybe.
It is a gray black, but it does it's really dark. It is dark, and And so I don't know if you could see I think Alan's trying to get the color there.
I'm not sure how well it'll come through, but I'll try to bring it a little
Yeah.
closer.
Oh,
And got a natural light thing right here.
Okay.
We'll see if this helps at all. So I got a lot of junk over here. So looking at it, I mean, it is, not sure how well you can see it, but it's almost black with like a hint of green or very dark blue. Or dark, yeah, it's a very,
It looks like blackboard.
it looks like it a little bit. I would say there's a little hint of navy or green to it, but
Okay.
mostly black is the strongest or most dominant color.
Is there some reason why you want it so dark compared to maybe a little lighter? Any reason?
No, we leaned toward the darker color. It felt classic. It felt like it went with the area. It kind of matched the area and yet stood out. So we just once we started putting up samples, all of us, we put samples up on the site so that we would feel it in its place. And that's the color, that's where we landed. And we kind of kept going back to it to make sure. And so that was just our preferred color.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Christine, any questions of the applicant?
I'll just take care of that in my comment.
Okay. Lars, any questions?
The alley with the painting, the existing mural, what level of public access goes into that space?
It will be open. That alleyway will be open. It is a entrance and exit to the second floor. And we have the bike racks in there. So it will be available for the public to walk through. So it is part of the path of travel. For the second floor.
So if I was a customer and I knew there was a store up on the second floor, I was excited, so I could sort of just dash in the alley and go. That would be one way I'd get there.
Correct.
But okay, but then you have the main entrance points are the further down on Main and then the one on Burnett.
Correct. There are two entrances, two ways to get to the second floor, and that's through the alley or through the entrance off of Burnett Street and up through the stairs,
Right.
the stair tower or the elevator, so that area. And the other entrance that's adjacent to or just near the alleyway goes into the first floor. And so, yes.
Right.
So you could go through that door and back to the staircase as well.
Correct.
The new stair.
Yeah, that makes sense. The wood that you're wanting to use throughout much of the facade is it meant to be reclaimed wood, or is it just meant, you have it called out as cedar, redwood, varying species, I think. Is it meant to actually be found reclaimed lumber?
It is. The intention is for it to be 100% recycled. And so that's our hope to do that. If it is for some reason we can't get it all recycled, we'll try to mill a lumber that's felled in, naturally, as opposed to harvesting it.
Okay, that makes sense. And then it sounds like, I think it was in the staff analysis, but the stucco, this is the darker color. It's not an integral color stucco. It's actually a painted stucco.
The stucco itself will be an integral color. Other things that are around, for instance, the concrete would be a painted surface to match the stucco color, but the stucco itself is an integral color.
Oh, like if there's existing concrete, you mean, that you're painting, or?
Correct.
Okay, like the column bases or?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's it for my questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. I actually
I actually have a question.
Oh, fire away.
Yeah, this question will help me understand kind of the quality of materials that you're planning to use, et cetera. But what is the budget on this project, kind of approximately, for the rebuild?
Budget. You know, I'm gonna let Becca answer this.
Yeah, well, including soft costs, we believe that it will be around $3 million.
Okay. Thank you.
And Rebecca, does that include tenant improvements or is that just the warm shell?
That is just the warm shell.
That's just what? Can you speak more clearly, please?
Warm shell.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I had a couple questions. So back to the perspectives, the model shots, and the elevations that were sent today. So the model is missing the awnings. So I'm understanding that the awnings are there, they just didn't get modeled yet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's making us see more of the dark color as well, because we're not seeing those awnings over those entries.
That is correct. Yes.
And then I think we've talked about the artwork, because my other question was how transparent is that metal screen, but I think the answer is we don't know yet. And then I see on Burnett Street in the center of the elevation, there's a large vertical wood panel. I think that's where the existing door. And I see that's marked as some sort of signage opportunity. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, that is correct. It's not where the entry is now. It's just a blank spot right now in the elevation.
Oh, okay. It's one bay over. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. It's one bay over. So it's just an opportunity, and that will happen as we submit our signage package. We'll have more definition there. But
Gotcha. Oh, I see. It's just a big blank. I'm on Google Street View. It's a big blank stucco wall right now.
it is, yes.
Got it. Okay. I think that's all I had. Thank you very much.
I have
Thank
enough.
you.
Yes, Lars.
So can you guys address what I brought up earlier to staff? It's that you said you hired business consultants, so the sense that office is not a good use for this space, retail restaurants is better. Is that just, I mean, I know the model that you're going after, like the Oxbow, makes perfect sense. But in your analysis, did you really find that that's a better use for the town?
Becca, could you want to answer?
Well, I wouldn't say that we have, that we've done a whole lot of scientific analysis on that. We don't have an outside consultant, but we do know that restaurants do struggle. But, we are here to help the small business and the restaurants, the restaurant industry, and the local food-related entrepreneurs. We have talked a lot to our community and to different folks that, are around that downtown core, and have gotten a lot of anecdotal feedback from people about what they want. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that we, like I said, we haven't done a lot of analysis, but I don't know. Julia, was that something that you looked into?
Preliminarily, we looked at kind of creating a hybrid model that could be adaptive. So we pushed forward with the smaller restaurant spaces, thankfully, to be adaptive to this. And one area that we focused on in the downstairs in the first floor is on the southeast corner. We have a community/party room, which we dedicated for a lot of different uses, one being a meeting room for nonprofits, another could be a co-working space, another could be what the original room was used for when it was Round Table Pizza was a party room. So we have looked at the adaptability of these spaces, and we are not 100% pushing forward that everything will be restaurant dedicated. So we still see a lot of opportunities here with this space.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Christine, do you have anything else?
No, I don't think so. Thanks, Ted.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I just have one on the wood, the recycled wood. Are you going to have that remilled into like tongue and groove, especially on the vertical walls?
Yes, we will be having some of it remilled where needed, where appropriate, in order to better waterproof.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Just budding wouldn't do very well.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you very much to our applicant. Why don't we pull it back to our board, and Ron, we'll start with you again since we kind of left off in there. And what other feedback do you have?
I don't really have a lot of comments at this point. The only comment I would say, I would like to see the Beal Group maybe tackle the West America building sometime. That's that building could use a lot of help. Other than that, overall, I like the project. Being a retired guy, I would probably use the restaurants and the bars and the coffee shops more than I would office space at this point in my life. But anyway, I'm happy you're going through with the project, and I really don't have any objections. The height of the trellis does not bother me. I think it adds a little interest to visually from the street. Other than the artwork, which will be discussed later, I'm fine with everything.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ron. Christine, how about you?
Why don't you guys go ahead?
Okay. Lars, jump in.
Okay. Well, first of all, I thank you guys for all your work. I think we're all excited that this building is getting some attention, not just in the, architecturally, but in the use of it. Obviously, it's been underused. And architecturally, it sort of came around at the height of postmodern, and we're all happy to see that one go. And so I think it's long overdue for an upgrade. Thank you very much for your efforts. I think the opening doors at the corner, the garage doors there, could be a really nice feature for sure, and open up to the street and be more welcoming. And certainly the model of the Oxbow market, there's lots of these kind of models around all over the place that I think are quite successful. Oxbow, I know, struggled for quite a while, but before they found their footing, but they weren't as well positioned in downtown as this one is. So I think that side of it, and the idea of sort of, lots of different people milling about, choosing from different places is exciting. I do worry about the retail restaurant viability in our town, and certainly even more so now, but nobody expected pandemic. But so that's just a sort of comment, economically, programmatically. I asked about the alley because it's a back entrance, and in your planning process anyway, it still feels like a back entrance. You may get a little more life because you park your bike in there, or you change the planting and the lighting. But to me, that's always felt a little creepy in there, and the leaves kind of blow in there and collect, and so I would just throw that out as I think it's a potentially bigger design opportunity than just dressing it. And so kind of along those lines, I think there's basically, so you guys are sort of adding a tower and the rooftop structures, but otherwise you're essentially dressing up the building. And it's really a building in need of a much stronger presence on that corner. A corner building always likes to have that. Right across the street, where the Retrograde Coffee is a two-story building, right on the street. The old charter school, Caddy Corner, same. The Abacus, Wealth Partners, the old bank building on the corner of Main and Highway 12 is, impressive, kind of two-story right on the street. And so this corner really wants it. So if your budget doesn't allow, building up a second story on the corner, or a third story even, and the approach maybe for financial reasons is to limit that, then how can you make that corner, stand out more? And I think the dark color is actually doing the opposite of that. Dark color is making it recede more than stand out. It's really dark. It's not, you don't see that kind of color in, Main Street, USA at all. Not to say that's a bad thing or that you couldn't try it, but in this case, I really think it makes it recede more from the corner. So maybe a different color would work. But then also the trellis up on right above it on the corner, I think, again, if this is the limitations of your building that you're doing, that's your opportunity to make that corner stronger. So instead of thinking of it as just a very, light trellis with just a couple very skinny posts, I would make it beefy. I would make it like that corner is really rising up to a second story in a way that it could be a different material. But that it catches your eye as a volume, not as a little airy shelter. I think you have a great opportunity there. And part of that is now you've added this big tall tower. To me, it's a little overwhelming to the rest of the building now. So if that corner could get, stronger, then that would balance the tower. I think the tower in and of itself is a nice thought. Though I think the artwork is such a big part of it, I'm a little worried as to what it becomes. That it's this giant volume. It doesn't have a lot of detail or scale. It's one big tall thing, and then the artwork can give it scale, but that has, we don't know what that is, so that has to be very carefully considered. There's certainly the best architecture, the precedent that we have in Sonoma County, to me, are the agricultural buildings we have here. So to me, that's the place to look for inspiration for the tower. And then the tower falling on the black base, again, makes it kind of disappear. It recedes. Both the black base on the tower and the black base on the alley entrance, I think, they're not the best move in kind of anchoring the size of your building. It makes it sort of blend in this, zigzaggy kind of black pattern. So I mean, that's lessening the strength of the corners of the sides of your building. The trellises, all the roof decks and roof trellises, especially up on the upper floor, I think are great. I think that's going to be an awesome space to go to. Views all around. The building adjacent to Alexis Persinger's building has, shed roof pretty high up there. Maybe you played on that. Like, it definitely feels like it works. It works up there in that family. And to me, again, the tower could somehow soften or not, or articulate to even work with those in some way too, a little bit better, a little more detailed than it's doing now. what else? So to me, this building should be completely transformed. The fact that you're leaving these little column capitals doesn't make sense to me. If you're really trying to kind of obliterate, the brick and the rhythm that was there before, I would, get rid of those capitals or somehow make them part of the planter more or something. Like that's just a weird little vestige of what was there before. Like you forgot to, color that one in or something. So I think you may as well sort of take it as far as you can in that way. What else? Oh, the window wall, the entry on Burnett, this articulated glass wall, how that works with the artwork is going to be very interesting to me. I don't think that sort of doesn't make sense to me. Move like you have these big all the other rhythm of the openings is very orthogonal, and then this one is sort of more whimsical. I don't know that really does anything for you. And then I'm concerned what the artwork would look like next to that. And then the wood is interesting to me. I think the warming up that brings, it could be really nice. I'm afraid though, as reclaimed wood that has so much variety, that it could be really too much. Like typically that material to me is really good as an accent, and you have a lot of it. So that's, that's your design choice, but to me the palette is, well, I understand you're sort of trying to be unique and cool and mod and have things pop out. Radically different than anything in town in the dark color and the amount of the wood. I don't know that there's any facades that have wood even at all, but again, I shouldn't discourage you, but my sense is it may be a little overwhelming. So those are my comments. Again, to go back to where I started, overall, I think your effort is great. The program could be really exciting, and the openings at the corner, I think, could be really great. So I think that's all I've got for now.
All right. Christine, you want to go, or would you like me to?
No, I'll go ahead. And Lars, I, as always, appreciate your comments. I really want to be able to support this project. I appreciate the renewal of that dated building that's there. But I think I would like to see a lot more detail. So just detail shown so that I can understand the building better, because it's a bit of a hodgepodge in my opinion, but I think that much detail work can help that, I guess I'll say. I'm going to start with the tower. I think if the tower is going to be an art piece, I think that needs to be brought to the board as part of the approval of the building, because that could be anything right now, and that wire mesh in there is such a huge part of the tower, and it's such a big element. I think whether or not that can be approved, I don't think should be deferred till later. And I also agree with Lars about the dark color. It's kind of sinking into the dark color. You know, I think that just makes the tower just stand out more as its own sort of something that's not really part of the building. And I also agree with Lars about the dark color. I don't really think the dark color works, although I have to say I'm looking at a shot like a SketchUp or something on a computer screen, and I don't think it really reflects the real color. And Alan's color board too, and in my packet, I don't think that virtually I can really determine what the color really is there. I mean, it could be lighter, quite a bit lighter than what you're presenting here, or the way it just comes across. Because on my computer screen, it looks black. I know that's not what you intend. Regarding the corner of the building, see, I think this is a prominent building in town, and I'm really happy to see it get some some upgrading, but I think I agree with Lars on the corner and making a presence there in the corner. To me, the trellis just looks like, you know, something that just got stuck up there. It doesn't seem to me to really coordinate with the rest of the building. It's just a trellis up there it looks like somebody just stuck a trellis on a roof. And I think that there's an opportunity, as Lars said, to really bring that corner up and make it more prominent and have it be, I don't know what that would be up to you, but I think the way the trellis is right now, I just think it looks like a mistake, to be honest. And the roll-up doors, I'd like to see some more detail on what those doors are. I mean, a roll-up door is a roll-up door. There's roll-up doors with windows. There's all different qualities of product. How's that going to get detailed out? And the vertical wall where it ties into the wood wall where it ties into the stucco. How does that tie into the stucco? What is the detail there? I'm just going down the line. That aluminum window wall, what is that? You know, what are the details there? What does that really look like? I just think it needs a lot more detail to be shown so that we can understand what this building really is. But again, I want to reiterate that I really appreciate the attempt, and I think that it's heading in a very good direction. I just think it needs a lot more detailing for me to understand specifically what these things are. And I do defer to Lars on what he says about the corner of the building and the opportunity there. I think that's really important, and that the tower, to me, the tower is just kind of sticking out like a sore thumb over there. But maybe the art element makes it more interesting. I just have no idea what that art element aspect is. So I'd like to see the building get more detail work done on it and bring it back to the board for a closer look.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, thanks for that, Christine. Lars, thanks for your comments as well. I agree with a lot of what's been said. I just pulled out the color so I could actually see the Regent Green. The next step down from Regent Green is Black Knight, and it's almost black. I'm a little weak in the reds and the greens, so I don't see the green in it, but I'm sure it's there. But it's pretty much a black color. It's not lighter than what's being shown. It's probably darker than what's being shown in the electronic renderings. So my feelings have been kind of laid out. A couple things that jumped out to me is that I agree with Lars's comment about the dark color receding, especially around your front doors. I think the least prominent things on this project right now are your front doors. Mm. And I think they probably should be the most prominent. And the thing that is screaming right now is the tower, and the tower is not your front door. So the tower is going to send an entry message to people that this is where you go. You put something like this on a building and people naturally go, oh, there it is. That's where I'm supposed to go. And so I think that tower is going to send a mixed message to people. There's sort of a secondary entry back by the tower, but really the front door is on Main Street. So I really like the idea of making the corner stronger, because right now the strength is all in that tower and it's not your front door. That's not where you want people to go.
Totally agree.
The other thing, so I agree with, maybe it's something architectural happening at that corner. Maybe it's a big sign of some sort, industrial strength sign of some sort, have big graphic happening there to kind of reinforce the character of what you're going for. Because I get that kind of this groovy, contemporary, industrial thing that you're going for. Spatially, I love it. I think the idea of these small vendors is great. I think that speaks to casual, repeat customer, affordable snacks and things like that. I think those upper floor terrace spaces are going to be phenomenal. That's where I want to be. I do think you want to be careful not to completely obliterate that corner, because I do think that corner is going to be the best views in town. I want to be up there for parade day, of course. But so spatially, I think the spaces are working really well. I think the concept is great. I worry about your front doors. I worry about the massing of the tower. I worry about the openness of the mesh on the tower as well. And I agree with Christine's idea that it would be nice to have, if that's going to be this integral component of this tower, the artwork, it would be nice if those two things could be reviewed simultaneously, if we could see that. Because one thing I would like to see is just what level of transparency are you going to, that tower is open space, it's outdoor space, it's not conditioned. And stairways are interesting. They're interesting things to look at. You get the slopes and the zigzags, and they're cool looking things. And I'm not sure how much of that I'm actually going to see through this art piece. How transparent, how translucent. And right now, the art piece, I think, is also making the tower feel more massive because it is this single panel thing. The right art piece could make that really cool. The bad detailing could make that feel really, even reinforce that mass. And right now the screen's being shown kind of attached to the outside rather than recessed into the openings in the thing. So I agree with Lars's comment about kind of the Mondrian windows meet the tower artwork, and how does that all work? You know, I guess I wonder whether the whole thing doesn't have roll-up doors, or especially at the corner where there's a roll-up door on Main Street as well. Because it feels like it's sort of Burnett Street focused, which would be fine, but your front doors on Main. So those are my thoughts on it. I think it's a great concept. I'm a little worried about some of the massing, and I'm a little bit worried about some of the just sort of the hierarchy of importance, I guess, is my biggest concern, is that it seems a little bit misplaced, especially when we saw the 3D model shots kind of really brought home what the elevations were showing us, which is it's very tower focused. And I mean, I had to go back to the floor plans to go, okay, where's the front door in this place? Because I'm not seeing it on the elevations or the models. So those are my thoughts. So I guess the question for our board now is, you know, where do we want to go with this?
Actually, Ted, could I make a comment about the tower?
Yeah, go.
I'm just sitting here. I think all of us are bothered by the prominence of the tower. This is a thought without much thought at all. Is there any way that stairway, which wraps around the elevator shaft, could be exposed to the outdoor, an outdoor stairs with a railing going up there, which would eliminate the blockiness of the tower? And with the weather around here, I think it would be suitable. But that's just a thought with not much thought to it. It just popped into my brain. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that the tower, the stair portion of the tower is basically outdoor space that's got it's enclosed in this mass, but it's not conditioned airspace. There's no windows, there's no glass or anything like that. There's the art piece between it and the world. So, you know, even if it were just sort of made more transparent, and it could be at the end of the day, it's going to be very transparent. We don't really know. So, but I think right now it's reading probably more massive than it really will be, depending on what happens with that artwork.
I think on the tower, Christine's point is a good one, that to do a design review of the tower, which is, 70% art, we don't necessarily get to review. This doesn't make sense. I mean, if you think to the hotel project, Ned Kahn's piece was very much part of the overall design review.
Yeah.
This is kind of, equivalent in the sense of scale of that piece of artwork.
Yeah.
I was also just going to bring up landscaping. We don't have our ever reliable merge studio, Carrie Bush, here. And the staff didn't really talk too much in the report about landscaping. The only two things I noticed, there's a little section of decomposed granite at the Burnett Street entry. That I don't know if that's really appropriate for the entry of the track. They could have done out of that. It's just such a little section. And then I was curious of the kinnikinnick kind of little shrubby piece that's at the edge of the building. I grew up in foothills of the Rocky Mountains, and I think of it there, and I don't know that it's perfectly suitable for our climate, for our zone here. But I'm not the expert. It's just a question, really. But I mean, I think the landscaping works, and I know the irrigation was all carefully done. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any additional comments?
I was wondering why nobody commented on my outdoor stair. Does that just not seem feasible, or is that just a bad idea?
No, I think it's certainly, I think it's feasible because they are pretty much outdoor stairs. So I think the tower could be reworked if the applicant wanted to pursue that.
Yeah, Ron. So Ron, I think it's a fine idea that I think we've all weighed in on the massiveness of the tower, and it's not really our place to design it for them, but we're asking them to come up with something that is works better with our input, and that could be one solution. Is there the guardrail is more expressed on the outside?
Yeah. I think I was just trying to come up with something to eliminate the size of the block of the tower, and by putting the stairs on the outside, it would definitely eliminate that feature.
Right. Yeah. And Jessica did comment. She said that the art piece is intended to be very transparent, and that to get the model to work, they just dropped in a piece of something that they had, and it kind of took away that transparency there.
There are several things we could comment on. Is there a place for me to comment back on any of the things that you've brought up, or do you not want to hear any of our comments on anything?
I don't have a problem with that. Why don't we invite you to reply?
I appreciate all the comments, and as Jessica did mention, it does look that it's not transparent, and the intention of that wire mesh is to be transparent. We want to see some steps moving up. We think that's the beauty of having the exterior stair, is that you can see it. It would vary. The intention right now is that it varies from how much you see through, percentage of opening. That percentage would change as to what's behind there, and to create some kind of interest. That's what we would get involved with the art. We are anticipating that it kind of stands proud of the building as this kind of piece that stands on top of it. But that will be worked out with the artist. Mm-hmm. The proportions of the tower, I don't have, I will not address that at this moment. But I will address, you mentioned something about the alleyway being kind of still this dark alleyway, and we actually have wanted it to be that as an option. We wanted that to be a flexibility. According to some of the people we have talked to on the top floor, the second floor will be more destination places, and it's kind of like a journey to go to find it. And so it wasn't, so intentionally it was kept as this alley and not this kind of newly renovated kind of openness on that particular area. The entries, I understand that you want to make them prominent. I think our intention is for them to be. I do understand that this modeling does feel very dark, the entries. We have considered, and I would love that if we could somehow, I don't know if there's a way to approve with some conditions, but to apply some of the wood siding to lighten up those entrances. But with that said, I'd also like to say that the signage and the lighting also impact that entrance. And so it's hard to get a true understanding of what that entrance will or will not be inviting until we get the rest of the signage and the lighting package. The corner, you know, the trellis at the corner is not an afterthought, and I realize it looks that way, and it's designed intentionally. You know, our top trellis, as you guys have expressed that you do like some of those components up on the top rooftop, we have two trellises, and they were intentionally, one is very heavy, the one that has a solid roof over it where that would cover where the solar panels are, that's a heavy timbers, and it's supposed to be beefy. And contrasting to that was this very light and airy trellis that's metal posts with wood rafters on top. And that's what we continued to that second level down below. So we wanted to emphasize the corner, but we were not trying to make it as strong as what I'm hearing you suggest. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm just letting you know that's kind of where we stood with it. What you may not be seeing is the wood that in the elevations you can see it. There's a horizontal siding and then the vertical siding. That vertical siding is an overhang, and it's about 3 or 4 feet proud of the building. And the corner, it was a very weak corner, so we've had that piece of wall continue down to the floor to kind of help when you're standing up there on the second floor, it doesn't feel like this is a heavy weight on top of you. And then we added that trellis as well to that corner. So yes, I understand there's opinions. I'm not trying to go against your opinions. I'm just trying to offer a little bit of information on where we were heading and what we were thinking on some of those elements.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, back to our board. What would we like to do at this point?
Well, I'll make a comment.
Yeah.
I am looking towards seeing this project be continued, not
Okay.
approved today with conditions. I would like to see a lot more detail, as I mentioned. What are the roll-up doors? What are the awnings? What are the details? The vertical wall, as it ties into the stucco. We've got issues with the tower. I think the art aspect of the tower must be included with the application. I can't see it being waived till later and then approved by the art board. I think it's part of the building. Railings, the aluminum glass wall. I think the corner, as we discussed, needs work. I agree with your mentioning about the entry. I think the tower does draw you to enter there. I completely agree with you. So I think the project is a good project. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really a nice project, but I think it just needs more work. And that's my opinion about it.
Yeah. I think I'm leaning in that same direction too. I would definitely like to know more about what that tower is really going to feel like, because I know that I'm comfortable with it just from what I'm looking at. I really think that some better treatment of the entries is in order, but that's kind of their call. But at the end of the day, you want people coming in your front door. I think that the corner is worth exploring. So I think I agree with your recommendation for a continuance. I think I support that. My main thing is I'd like to know more about that tower and just like Christine said, more details of exactly what's going on.
And I think the comment about signage and lighting is going to help all of that feel. That's sort of, again, feels like we just have to then approve on faith.
Right.
Artwork, signage, lighting, all will make this a better project. And I'm sure there's no question it will.
Yeah.
So we're to approve it, to, you know, sort of with the issues that we have with it, doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I'll go. Yeah, hi. Yeah, I think I'll go along with everything you said there. I think the main problem for all of us is the tower. I know the first time I looked at the elevation, that's the first and only thing I saw there. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. I'm not real happy with the new black color that seems to be modern all of a sudden again. Starbucks and Pete's Coffee House have all black, which is kind of, to me, kind of depressing on the inside. I know it's probably modern, I guess. Other than that, I'm of course happy this is going in. I will probably patronize it quite a bit and spend a reasonable amount of money. But I think the tower and to me and the black bothers me. Other than that, I'm fine. But I think we should see what else they can do.
Yeah, and I think some better developed model shots with the awnings on them and a little more complete with some more detail would really help the understanding of what it's really going to feel like. All right, so
I have another comment to my fellow board members.
I'll go right
I
ahead.
would ask you all to consider. This is a really important corner building in the downtown core. And I think that given that we need to see as much of all the various design elements up front rather than deferred, so that we can see what the overall look is going to be. And that's why I'm pushing on the trellises, not just the tower, but the trellises. What are these roll-up doors? There's many products, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would not like to see these things, signage, I would not like to see these things get deferred as much as they cannot be deferred. I realize that some of it will be, but I'd like to see as much of the whole package, because it's going to tell you what that building, what the feel of that building is going to be. And it's such a major corner. So I'm just putting that out for you guys' consideration.
Well, I agree. It's such a major corner and it's such an awesome opportunity. Right here, this thing's been sitting there for years as a strange, odd building that's different than the big of our downtown. And here's a great opportunity. So I agree with you, Christine. We should see as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree as well. All right.
You know, I've driven by that place 1,000 times and I never realized there was even a second story on that building. And I have no idea what's up there. The only thing I remember is the pizza place, and everything else I don't remember. I do remember the mural, which is great. But other than that, I didn't even know it had a second story, driving by it 1,000 times.
Yeah, well, it was, I think it was, done in a time of where suburban thinking infiltrated downtown design. It's, to recess the top floors, not really a successful urban design approach. So that was done. Stylistically, I think they're doing, trying to help it, but urbanistically, it really could be much more.
But don't forget, Lars, there was a train going through downtown just a little earlier than that. The train tracks were there. So what can you say?
That is true.
Yeah.
But the older buildings, further up Main Street are all 2-story facades, right? Or not all, but many.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, someone want to throw a motion on the table to continue?
I'll do it.
Go, Christine.
So, okay, so I'd like to continue the project so that we can further explore the tower and the art aspect, the roll-up doors, the awnings, the corner of the building at Burnett and Main Street, the vertical wall to stucco transitions, the wood wall to stucco transition, the aluminum glass wall, railings, trellises, and the color.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right.
And just for the record, I'll note that this would be continued to a date certain, so in terms of when it would be rescheduled.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's call the question. I'll call people individually so we have a record. All in favor? Ron, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Continuance.
Okay. Lars?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So motion to continue is passed, has passed. All right. Any other items on our agenda? I think that was it, right?
I think we can just thank the applicants for all their work, and
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much for your work in the presentation. I think you've heard that we're all very excited about the project, and we look forward to seeing you come back.
Certainly agree with that statement.
All right, Alan, what else do we have? I think that's all.
Yeah, let me pull up the agenda, but I believe that is it.
I think that was
Discussion
it.
items, none. Reports from boards and staff. If there's any, and then adjournment.
Okay.
Well, I would say it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
And 5:36 here. So unless Vice
But you
Chair
can't go to the
has any
bar, it's
updates
not
from the
allowed.
public art.
Ah, gee. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
We'll
See you next time.
all right.
Alan, can you hang on for a second?
of course.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's see. I get to remove people. Good job. It's
Oh, thank
that
you.
was some really good input from that. I'm glad I remembered to record, because otherwise that would be and you as well, to make
Yeah.
sure we have some good notes from that.
Yeah. So and sorry, just I want to catch that. Were you the one that said continue to a date certain or date uncertain?
Uncertain, since we